As you may have seen if you follow me on Instagram, I'm making a new show file just for fun for a little timecode project, and so I'm working on rebuilding all of my phasers for this rig, and I thought I'd show you what my phaser creation process looks like, because I know I've been talking about how I use recipe phasers and how much more efficient it is, but it can be helpful to really see it in action. So I have my universal phasers pool, and I started here by creating all of these, and I did make a little story about it, nothing more, about how easy it is to make more of these. So I'm gonna go back and do that just a little bit. So I have all of these that I actually need, but I'm gonna create a encoder bar, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select, these are universal, all my universal phasers are obviously universal. I just need the same attributes for a whole bunch of different value sets. So I have my dim 0 to 100, then I have the same exact phase, and actually there literally isn't any phase data. What is it? There's speed, like Speedmaster, and the form basically are what we have here. I just need multiple versions of that with different value levels. And then I have this type is a different form, but basically everything else is the same. These are single step presets. But for my phasers, what I'm going to do is double click this, and then it's running this phaser. It's put all the information into the command line, and I'm going to come down here. Let's say I want to make the 25 to 100 one. I'll just change this value to 25 and then store. And then now I have an exact duplicate of that, but with a different low value. And I just do that for all of these. All right, now I don't need this because I already have it right there. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to look at the process for making these into recipe phasers. So I'm going to come here, and what I've got going on here is I already did this for all of these, but I'm going to go down to the next set of these. So I have my different forms. I've already talked about that. These are sines, these are pops. These are my still single step presets, and then I have pop on and pop off. Basically the pop ons pop on and fade off, the pop offs fade on and pop off. It's like ramp plus and ramp minus in MA2. And so the process here is I've already created, I did one, right? I did this one right here first, and what I did was I just selected each main group of lights. So for example, my back wall washes, well actually, let me back up. I needed a linear group for each of these, and I haven't color coded these yet, but I wanted a linear group for each of these for my main one so that I could just shuffle them along the x-axis, and it's very, it's mathematically simple. So I did this with the recipe editor. I had edit recipe active, and I went in and selected each of these groups of lights, selected my universal preset, and then figured out the right speed settings, and I gave all of them a fade of 3. I gave them different speeds for each group. I just did a different speed from X for each one. This is actually messed up. That should not be having a value there. Things you figure out. It should be 30 here. Now, unfortunately, that probably means I made a bunch of phasers wrong because I duplicated this. Can't believe I missed that. Anyway, my recipe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of these lines, one for each big group. I just added my regular shuffle-o-matrix, which also by default added phase 0 to 360 for X, and then I set in my speed data for each group and gave each one fade from 3. So now this preset had all of my information that needed to be customized. The only thing is I need a duplicate of that for every single one of my universal phasers so that I have one for each value. Well, that's actually really simple to do. All I have to do is copy one of these, and you can obviously just copy it like so. I'm going to put it here for starting here. But the other option that's actually super simple is hit Control-C on your keyboard and hold it. And then click, click. Just while holding it, it keeps copying the command line. And then you can make as many of these as you want. Once you've made a whole bunch of these, all you've got to do is go Edit Setting, and then over here, click once, click here, right click here, and then change it to the one you want. I'm going to want this one to be dim pop on 0 to 100. I click that, all of these are now the correct one. They have all the same timing, fade, and a matrix data that I need for my phaser. You can come back here and see it gave it that name. I like to let these do the default name because it means I don't have to change it, and it just mirrors whatever recipe, whatever phaser is in the recipe. Now, if, for example, it's a little bit harder to actually find the preset you need, you can also search. So this one should be pop on. This one should be 0 to 25, and it's right here. I could have typed the whole name in if I really wanted to. Then I click on it, all done. So you just do that for every single one of these, and all of your presets are created. Now, the way I use these, I'm just going to recap it again, even though I've talked about it before, is this has my kind of main shuffle look, and my 3D view is on a different screen, so you can't really see it very well, but this has my main shuffle look. Whenever I'm programming into cues, and I may make another video showing this later too, I turn on Edit Recipe, I select a group of lights, I select my recipe phaser, and then over here, if I don't want to use these default values, I have a default fade of 3 seconds, for example. Maybe I want it to immediately start with no fade. You can't see the default in here, I just have to know it. But if I know this fade isn't working for me, I can click and I can make it 0, or I can make it 6, or I can make it 300. It doesn't matter. I really can do whatever I want. So there's that option. I can change the matrix data. So the way that I really make sure I have a whole bunch of different looking effects is actually just by using different matrix. So I store different matrix pool objects, and then I can change this. And my matrix contain data for not fade, but they contain data for like the speed, and actually most of them don't contain speed data, but if there's specific speed data, then they will. My speed data usually is just the default, and I might change it in here, but my matrix will contain phase data, they'll contain groups, blocks, and wings. So I'll select my matrix, and then in most cases I don't have to do anything else. And of course, if you have a matrix pool open here, you can also just click on that and it'll populate it. So then it makes programming this super fast and easy, and then anything you need to tweak, you just tweak it and it's done. So that's a little bit of my workflow with that actually in action. I know that's been a request for me to show that, but yeah, you can see some of it. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I'd be happy to answer them. I'll see you another time, and for now, have a great week and happy programming.